This is Karen Squires with Stampin' by the Bay, and today we're going to go ahead and make this Z-Fold in the Meadow card. Okay. To start off with, we're going to take a piece of crumb cake, and it's 4 1/4 by 11 inches. It is scored at 2 3/4 and 5 1/2. We are just going to fold this in half and work once at the 5 1/2 inch score line, and we're going to go ahead and stamp this. I'm going to go ahead and use my Misty and my hardwood stamp set, as well as early espresso ink. So I'm going to place my paper in there. I'm going to ink. Okay, so you're going to have this, and you're going to go ahead and fold this back. Okay, and then we can just go ahead and put this aside. Next, we're going to go ahead and do our watercoloring, our stamping and watercoloring. We're going to go ahead and take out the one piece of the watercolor paper, and it's 3 7/8 by 3 1/8. And this piece of Whisper White, which is going to be the inside, and I had just stamped the deer on the inside, and it's at the same exact size. It's 3 7/8 by 3 3/8. Okay. We are going to use the Timber Brown ink, the Stays on Timber Brown ink. And I'm going to go ahead and ink up this mountain. And I am going to stamp it, and I want to stamp it all the way across. I want to make sure that mountain is in the picture, but I still have room for the lake and the sky above it. The sky above it and the lake below it. Okay, so I have that piece. Okay, and this piece of Whisper White, again, it's for the inside, and I had it over off to the side, and you can do it however you want. I am going to, hold on one second. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and pull out my, to try to keep my paper clean, I am pulling out my paper towel that I'm going to watercolor on so I can stamp off. Okay. Next, I am going to grab a scrap piece of watercolor paper that I can stamp my deer on, so I can color them and cut them out. And I think the key with this stamp, as well as with the watercolor paper, you always want to try to make sure your especially your Stays on is well inked. It does have a tendency to dry out quickly. Okay, so first off, I'm going to do the watercoloring, and I'm going to paint above the mountain first. I'm going to use the So Saffron, as well as the Soft Sky and my aqua painter. Right. So I'm going to turn this around. Next, I like to make sure that above the sky is dry before I start coloring the mountain, just so that I don't want it to bleed if I happen to go over the line. So I'm going to go ahead and scoot down and go ahead and start doing the lake. And the lake is done with the Marina Mist. So I'm going to go ahead and just wet the lake down with my water brush first. Next, we can go ahead and do the mountain. And how you can do the mountain is you can use the Ziggs, the dark brown, which is the number 062, and this is the Zig Clear Color Real Brush. And you can see the color, which is dark brown. And then you can see when it's mixed with the Mossy Meadow, it is like a nice brown hue. If you wanted to, you could go in, you could use the gray brown, which is 094 with the green. And it is a little bit different. You can add some of that gray in up with the brown to kind of give it a different hue. But again, it's really up to you. And you can also as well use the Early Espresso marker. The Early Espresso marker is a little darker. And if you go in with the Mossy Meadow, this gives you more of a, when the Early Espresso marker is wet, even before applying the green, it's a very greenish hue. So it's really kind of up to you how you want to color your mountain. When I did this one, I think I used this Zig one. But again, it's up to you and how you want it. If you want more of that brown, because I think the Zig kind of keeps the brown look, where the Early Espresso really turns a little bit, it turns greener, I guess, if that makes sense. Okay. So it's, like I said, it's up to you. I am going to go ahead and I am going to use the, for this time, I think I'm going to go ahead and stick with the Early Espresso and the Mossy Meadow. So how I did this, the mountain, you can take the Early Espresso and I kind of colored in the dark lines. And you can take some of the Mossy Meadow. Now our markers, you really cannot overlap the markers on the tip to tip, or go over the lines, because they just don't mix. With the Zigs, you can mix the paint, and the markers, they don't make a difference. This is Old Olive, so I'm going to add a little bit of a lighter shade of the green. Okay, now I'm just taking my aqua painter and I am just going in here and I'm kind of coloring in mixing the colors up a little bit. With the brown and the greens, you don't want to mix too much because you're going to start getting really mucky colors, and you really don't want that. Well, this is how you can, I showed you a little bit there how you can watercolor without the ink pad. Now I'm doing this with the markers. I kind of wetted it down. I'm adding some Old Olive. But I'm going to mix a little bit of the Mossy Meadow in here, only because I kind of want a little bit of more of a two-tone grass to try to show the little bit of the light and dark. Now this is a lighter hue than what I did here. If you want it darker, you can definitely go back with the Mossy Meadow, and I might actually add a little bit. I'm going to set this to dry, and now I'm going to go ahead and do the deer. Now the deer, again, I am using the zigs. There's only a few colors I actually like because but besides the point. These are the zigs clean color real brush pens. This one is beige, number 072, and it's beige. This one is mustard, and it's 067. Okay. Now, these, you can see it does give a different hue where I cannot get these colors with the Stampin' Up! Colors. All right. So this is what I used for the deer. I thought it was the perfect color. Now, this is the mustard, and to me it doesn't really quite look the same, but it is what it is. How to use these on the deer is I go ahead and I color in along the edges. Sorry, I know some of this is a repeat from the other class, the other card. But I go in here and color in. Now I just take my aqua painter and I add water to, and I pick up that ink. With this one, it doesn't matter about staying in the lines because I'm cutting them out. Okay, that is done. Now I'm going to let this dry. Okay, next I'm going to go ahead and we're going to stamp the watercolor piece, and we're going to stamp the trees. And I'm going to go ahead and stamp them with the Staz on Timber Brown ink. I might actually Next, I'm going to take the Mossy Meadow, and I'm going to go ahead and stamp the grass. Okay, I have the deer cut out, but before I attach it, I'm going to go ahead and add a little bit of the Wink of Stellar to the lake. Kind of makes it glisten a little bit. I should have done this before I stamped the tree, but I kind of forgot, so. So now I'm going to go ahead and attach the deer. And next, we're going to go ahead and attach the early espresso pieces of paper, the mats. And these are 4 inches by 3.5, and there's 2 of them. So we're going to attach this to the back. Kind of want that to here and dry flat. All right, next we're going to go ahead and do the inside piece. Okay, we're going to go ahead and use You're the Best, and this is from the Happy Home stamp set, which I haven't played with yet except for the saying. I wanted something that was a circle. Whisper White cardstock and Mossy Meadow ink. I'm going to go ahead and stamp that. This is Early Espresso, and this is the 1 1/4 scallop punch. And I'm going to punch one out. This is the 1-inch circle punch. Okay. This is I like to line it up and see where I want it to be, because you want the front flap to match up with the back flap. So I think that's going to be good. So I'm going to go ahead and not move it. Now last, we are going to go ahead and use this striped, what's it called? Striped cotton ribbon. It's Mossy Meadow. We're going to go ahead and tie it around here. Okay. Now that is it. That is the Z-Fold in the Meadow card. Right. Thanks for watching. This is Karen Squires with Stampin' by the Bay.